I'd like to say maybe one other comment, that I'm sitting here with you, and I'm actually not an employee of AATBS. I'm a 1099 guy. Means I have been very fortunate and even most appreciative of having these years of teaching outside of here, and adjunctive stints briefly in some institutions of higher learning. The only place I teach in any regular way is at a police academy in Northern California. And that means about an hour and a half every 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
That my world is actually not tied to AATBS, and my income is, I guess you could say, tied as an, if no one came to our workshops, then who would I teach? Right. So in that way I benefit. But I'm here as a licensed psychologist, and I'm proud to be here as a licensed psychologist. I'm proud to be here as someone who can be transparent, someone who has their license number, someone who's been a member of APA for, I'll guesstimate 20 some odd years, and teaches the ethics code and hopes that what I'm doing here is consistent with anything that would be consistent to the APA ethics code. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to oversell or overstate. I actually have changed in the last couple of years in that I think I used to be guilty of understating the program. People would come up to me at the workshop, and I just, if I was really into sales, I think I would have taken a different professional bend. I loved the teaching, and this company has given me the opportunity to do it and actually to travel while doing it, so I feel very fortunate. But people would come up to me in past years and say, I have some older materials, and I was just reluctant to have them kind of spend their last shekels on, our materials or anyone's materials, and I'd always try to, well, certainly be cost effective. And then there was a colleague I'm referencing right now, a specific person who happens to live in Sacramento, California, and came to me one time and just said that he had come up to me at a workshop and asked whether I should purchase materials. He had aged materials. And I said some things to him, but I didn't say, hey, pony up, spend the dollars, turn your pockets upside down, and get updated stuff. And he came up like 1 or 2 points short and felt as if I had been more candid with him, he would have been not penalized by having come through the process, retaking the exam, very expensive, purchasing materials. Yeah, this gets very expensive. Going to workshops, it does. And so I think I was overly sensitive to not selling. So now what I try to do is I try to be really candid with people. And so sometimes, I feel like I am giving a testimonial at one of our workshops, for instance, for like Test Master. And the reason is because I really think it's warranted. So I wanted to talk a little bit about myself.
I wanted to, and that's fine, Mike, but I'm guilty of something because back in the late 80s, early 90s, I remember when I was talking to, and this is back when the exam was given 2 times a year. It used to be given, you'd take it on a Scantron, and you'd go to some location, and in April and in October, they would administer the exam. And people would call and ask, do I need to buy the home study and the workshop? And I would look at the calendar, and I would, forgive me, Mike, but I would tell them, you don't need to commit to buying a workshop now. Just get the home study and buy access to the questions. And in those years, of course, the questions were incorporated into the books. And, those people did fine. They did fine because, as you've talked about earlier today, they set up a study schedule, which we helped them do, and they managed to stick to that schedule, work their full-time job, get through the practice exams, score high enough on the practice exams to where their self-confidence was where it needed to be, and they would call me up and I said, I don't think you need to go to a workshop. And to this day, I will tell you that the people that work here at the association, they're not going to get you to buy something that you don't need, and they are not going to play on your fear or, with all due affection, your naivete about this examination. The job of the people here is to inform and educate you about the test, how the test is constructed, and what your options are. Ultimately, the final decision rests with you as to what works best for you. And there was a time, you might recall this, Mike, I was so concerned regarding the economic turmoil. I'm very sensitive to the fact that we're talking to people who owe significant sums in student loans. They're living on co-pays. It was tragic, and I took out a full-page ad in the APA Monitor, and I actually said, ignore the prices on our website and call our office. And just tell us what you can afford, and we will find a program for you. And you know, we did that, and it was quite successful. And I should point out that I don't think that many of the county governments or hospitals or colleges and universities that purchase in bulk from us for the EPPP, I don't think they would do that unless they had confidence in the quality of the program. And I think that that's also worth noting, is we keep going back to this thing, and that is quality. The company will not sell something unless it proves to be of benefit to the consumer. Because while you are colleagues to Mike and you are applicants to the board, to ATBS you are consumers, and we all know how it feels when we're on hold for long periods of time, or when we buy something and there's a part missing. Because I've been in that situation, I don't want my guests, my consumers, to have to experience that. That's why it's important, I think, that when people contact the Association for Advanced Training, they tell us about your schedule, tell us about what your goals are, what your schedule looks like, when you think you might be able to take the test, and let us create a program that'll work for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's already packaged. It can be bits and pieces so that it works for your budget, but it also works for your schedule. I think that's very important.